And there's one song in particular, My Hero,
Yes.
that has a really interesting story. Can you tell
Yeah.
us a bit about that?
So My Hero was the one that I met a gentleman on a plane, and it's a very, it's a song that's near and dear to my heart. We were traveling from Seattle to, I was going home, so Seattle to Washington, D.C., and he actually lived in Seattle, and he was coming out, I think, for a job interview. I think that was it, or if he was job hunting, something like that. And there must have been like 20 of us on this plane. There was nobody on there. So we had this, kind of the back row to ourselves. And for some reason, he was chit-chatty, and he decided to talk about his life in Iraq. And he had just finished his second tour of duty. So he just left. He was about, a month old from leaving Army, and he was a commander there, or a captain, I should say. And it was 6 hours of listening to a guy who clearly was in a struggle, not just because he was, back from being in harm's way, but back trying to figure out what his place is and what he had done. Was that worth it? And was he really doing something that helped somebody? It was a story that bothered me for a good 2 months. And then I decided to write about it because I couldn't get him out of my head. I mean, it was, think about this guy who spent so much time trying to help the Iraqis, stabilizing and training them. And he'd tell me stories about how he took these desks over to the school, because when he would go into the schools, 20 children were sharing one desk. And so he would gather up the desks, put them over there, and they rejected him because they didn't want to take anything from the U.S. And he said, you guys really need the desk. Look at you, you're sharing one desk to 22 students. You can't possibly. And he had to convince the Iraqis that no harm would come from them if they took the goods from the U.S. And just stories about how he was really trying to make a difference. He left feeling like he hadn't made any difference at all. So I wrote this song. I didn't think I would ever see him again. And leaving the plane and struggling with what his story was. 2 months later, I'm thinking, now I've written this song. I really want to tell him about it, but you don't think to, actually get emails and things like that with somebody you met on the plane. So it wasn't until a year later, and actually the song had taken off on several military internet radio stations and such, and we had done a few interviews. And I was performing at this place in D.C., and after my performance, this guy comes up to me, and he says, I just wanted to tell you that I really enjoyed your performance. And I looked at him, and I thought, boy, he looks really familiar, and I can't think of why. I kept looking in his eyes, and I said, gosh, have we met before? And he said, well, I'm not sure if you remember me, but we were on a plane together about a year ago. I said, oh my gosh. You're Hunter, you're the soldier. And he said, wow, you remember. I said, remember you, I wrote a song about you. Well, of course, then he was really taken back. Here's this strange woman who has written a song about him. And, I said, yeah, you've been on the radio. And he said, he had shock, right, and his mouth opened. Then of course we made it worse, because then all the band members came over and they said, oh my goodness, this is the soldier, surrounding him, shaking his hand, and he was a little overwhelmed. I mean, he lasted for a good 20 minutes, and then he had, you could see he needed to leave and kind of think about it, because that was a little strange, right? I got a letter from his mother, an email. She had sent one to me the very next day, and she had said, I just learned that you wrote the song about my son, and that is the most wonderful gift I could have gotten on Mother's Day. So it was just, a precious, wonderful email. And since then we've become sort of pen pals. I also received another email, I should say, from the soldier a couple days later, and he had decided, after he'd thought about it for a while, said, I listened to the song and listened to the lyrics, and if there was ever a way that I wanted to express what I went through, it would have been exactly your song. So it was really gratifying to hear all of that.
That's incredible that you actually saw him again.
It's very incredible.
Randomly.
So so now we're, we know each other and see each other. I even put him in a music video. So, it's always fun.
It's really nice. So a lot of young students, especially here at Columbia, that want to go into performance, want to go into music, don't really know where to begin. Do you have any tips or advice you would offer them?
First is write about what you feel. Write about things that you know. I'd start writing stories. If you think of, anything that is melodic to you, one of the things I'd recommend is those little tape recorders that, digital tape recorders. They're actually quite phenomenal. I have one all the time, and sing to it, hum to it, and then you can recreate it and build from there. It's a great way to start. And once you start getting down, songs and have a catalog, then you can do something from there, whether that's performance. Lots of great places that love to have new artists, fresh artists, and new music. But, in general, people want to hear what's in your heart. And it's always best if you're singing from the heart, your performance is much better. So that's where I guide people is, as soon as you're thinking about something so intently, that's an opportunity. Write about it, and it'll flow from there really well.
Did you do writing before you formed the band, or?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I've always been in a band of some sort, but this particular band, I started writing first. Yes, I had to sort of think about it because it all collapsed together pretty quickly, but there was a little time beforehand.
And where do you see your band going in the future?
I see us. I see us continuing, to probably work on the AAA market. I think we're a good fit there. We might be better fit in some of our songs that are a little bit more pop in nature, but I think we offer a little different sound than what's out there. That's going to, I think, help us. When you look at what's being played, there's, you've got a lot of sort of dance, sort of hip hop pieces that are pretty big in the marketplace, and we're kind of the opposite of that. So with anybody's ears, it's always nice to have something different. So I think our timing might be pretty good with the kind of sound we have.
Right.
We've got a little bit of a big sound like a Fleetwood Mac on some of our songs. So, and it's been a while since anybody's had that kind of sound, so I think that will help us. But I see us doing very well in the AAA market as we continue the tour.
And you've already accomplished so much in such a short period of time. Do you have any other goals that you'd like, or an ultimate goal for your band?
Well, I'm hoping that our album is nominated for the 2010, or at least a song or two to the 2010 Grammy Awards. So that would be one of the goals
really
for this
exciting.
year. Hopefully, we're going to open for somebody fantastic. That's always a great way to go the next level as well. So those are my two goals, my immediate goals right now. I'm sure I have others, but those are the ones that are on top of my head.
Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Maria.